Welcome to Legal and Wealthy, the podcast for lawyers who are ready to stop playing small and start building true wealth and a career and life of their dreams, powerfully and purposefully. Whether you're a law student, new associate, or seasoned attorney, this show is for those who are ready to take charge of their law career in a new way. I'm your host, Lauren Klein, attorney, law firm owner, professor, and founder of Legal and Wealthy. Here, we don't just practice law, we practice liberation and becoming wealthy attorneys. Because being a great lawyer shouldn't come at the cost of your time, your peace, or your financial freedom. Every week, you'll get the strategy, mindset, and wealth building guidance that law school never gave you. So you can go from just surviving your career to building a legacy through it. Let's get to work. Welcome back to Legal and Wealthy, the podcast where we talk about building real wealth as a lawyer without losing our minds. My name is Lauren Klein. I am an estate planning attorney, a wealth coach for lawyers, and the host of this show. And I'm so excited to have a conversation today that I think will really change the way that you look at money. I've been very excited to have this conversation. Melissa and I met several months back, and she actually just blew my mind with the things that we're going to talk about today, the way that Melissa approaches wealth and wealth building through her work. Melissa Hoyer is a certified financial planner and a professional certified coach at the Wealth Conservancy. She has spent over 20 years working with clients in this space, people navigating complex, financial circumstances. And what I really love about your work, Melissa, is you really combine a deep financial expertise with coaching in a way that I've really never honestly seen before. So I'm really excited to have you on the show today, talk about the archetypes, and just kind of see where this conversation takes us. Welcome to the show.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for having me. I love being here and being able to talk more about the archetypes with everybody.
Absolutely. So when we first met, we went through all the archetypes that we're going to talk about today, and then you had me do a quiz. So I'd love to hear. Let's just dive in. Let's just get right
Mhm.
into it. What are the archetypes, and what is the quiz that you had me do?
So the archetypes are patterns of being, right? So in this case, these money archetypes are like common patterns of how we are with money. So, for example, there's a ruler archetype, and that person loves to create companies and businesses and grow and create opportunities for people. And there are
Mhm.
archetypes like the accumulator, and accumulators love to build wealth, and they feel a great sense of emotional satisfaction and security from building wealth. Whereas another archetype, like the romantic archetype, might love to indulge and experience luxury that could, quite frankly, make the accumulator archetype really uncomfortable. So these archetypes are just common patterns of behavior that kind of reflect how we are with money, how different people are with money.
And I
So
think what's so fascinating about this is you can give someone financial strategy. You can kind of walk through, okay, here's what I think you should do with your money, how you should invest it based on your circumstances, your stage in life, whatever it might be. But if you don't understand how you view money and approach money, what do you think happens if someone doesn't fully understand their own money language or their own money archetype?
well, as an advisor, I think it's like oil and water, right? If you're not having an understanding of how someone is motivated and relates to money on an emotional level, then what you're saying is like oil and water. I think it really helps to be able to um, deliver the financial guidance in a way that is someone can hear and be open to and receptive of.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And so it's important that the professional understands, I would say, the
Mhm.
client's archetype, and it's important that the client, the person themselves understands it too, so they know, why
Mhm.
do I view money this way, or why does my perspective may be different from my spouse or
Mhm.
my business partner. So I find
Mhm.
it so fascinating.
Yeah. I think it's really helpful. What I like about the archetypes is that there's no one archetype that's better or worse than another, but they
Mm,
are different. So when someone recognizes their own pattern of, way of being with money, and it's normalized as like, oh, I'm a connector, and that's great. And here's how I can thrive as a connector archetype. And yes, that's different than my father's archetype, which is accumulator. And he was thriving in one way, and I'm going to thrive in a different way. And it's okay that we're different. We can respect each other's different ways of being with money, and we can both be successful.
mm. I think that's huge, right? And it from my perspective, it really showcases that money and wealth is, it's not necessarily just about the financial aspects, it's the emotional and personal aspects of how you operate as
Mhm,
your own unique individual,
mhm.
you
Yep,
know.
I think that's exactly right. I think we all can recognize how emotions drive our financial decisions. So, for example, I'm a connector. That's my top archetype. And I'm a financial planner, and I also became a professional coach because I love to connect with people. And a
Mm,
challenge for connectors is asking for money, right? Stating your fees. So that is an aspect of what comes
mm,
naturally to me is great because I have great relationships with my clients and I practice financial planning in this really great way.
yeah.
And a challenge I had to overcome was, charging what I'm worth.
Mm, interesting. Okay, so let's kind of walk through each archetype and
Mhm,
talk about what are the, I want to say pros and cons, but what are the
mhm,
common wins that each
mhm,
archetype has and what are the common
mhm.
challenges?
Yeah.
I would love to do that because I think that will really, really help a lot of listeners to understand themselves better.
Yep. That's a great place to start. Okay. So the first archetype I'm going to go over is called the ruler archetype. And the ruler, as I mentioned, is someone who loves to build companies or very entrepreneurial. And they can create really valuable, um, you know, services or products for people on the planet and opportunities for other people. And I'd say if we want to call it the shadow side or the challenge, can be overworking or never having enough. And that target for like where I want to get to, and I'll be happy when I get here, can always be moving farther and farther away. So you never actually
Mm.
accomplish it.
Hmm. I think a lot of listeners can relate to the ruler.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of smart, ambitious people can relate to that
Yeah.
because there's a thrill in that, right? Like it grows us when we have something ahead of us that we're reaching toward. So when we can do that in balance, it's perfect.
So if someone's listening and they're like, okay, I want to hear the other types, but I think I might be a ruler, and maybe they have struggled currently or in the past with feeling like no matter how much they accomplish, they went to law school, they got the job, or they started the firm, or whatever it is, and they feel like no matter how much they accomplish in life, the goalpost keeps moving. What is something that the ruler can do to still have goals, because goals are great and it's, especially if it's exciting for them, that's fantastic, but how can they enjoy kind of the fruits of their labor without always feeling like they have to get to the next point?
Hmm. So this could be a lifelong practice. And what I think helps is to develop a state of contentment, um, with wherever you are at in life, the ability to savor and feel gratitude for what you have, no matter what.
Mm,
And I think that's ultimately like that would be the number one thing for all these archetypes is to really develop a sense of abundance as a state of being
Mm.
versus a number in your bank account. I think that's really helpful, especially for the ruler.
Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. So really developing an abundance mindset to be happy with what you have
Mm-hmm.
while simultaneously having goals to get to that next level. I love that.
It's really being able to hold both, right?
Yeah.
So one is just like this sense of, enjoyment, while also allowing yourself to feel that excitement for striving. It's an interesting balance to hold.
Yeah. 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 I can relate to that. I feel like when we first spoke, almost every type, I was like, oh, I in some way can relate to that archetype.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. In a way, this is my practice for June, actually, is to be really, really focused on everything that is good in my life. Like I'll be driving to work, like,
Mm,
oh, these clouds are gorgeous. Look at this beautiful day. Oh my God, I'm so grateful to have a car that works, whatever it is. And then
yeah.
and truly, when I'm in that state, I feel so much more energized because
Yeah.
I'm coming from a place of abundance and not lack,
Yeah.
or I'm getting to work late, or I didn't get enough sleep, or whatever. So it's really making that shift within me so that I can feel good. And then like all of those goals and that here's what I'm going to do next, like it just comes so much more easily.
That's a powerful reframe for
Hmm.
sure. And
Yeah.
it's free. It's a free
And
reframe.
it is free. And
Mm,
and I have to say it's free and will give you so much joy that it's just kind of mind-blowing that we can do that for ourselves.
yeah. And you can do it anywhere. You can, like you
Hmm.
said, you can be in the car driving to work. You can be, in the courtroom. You can be
Yep.
in just wrapping up a call with a difficult
Yep.
client or opposing counsel. It's just
Hmm.
even 30 seconds, minute, just
Hmm.
reframing. That's
Yeah.
huge. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
You're welcome. Hmm.
I love that. So that's the ruler. Who do we have next?
Okay. Next up is the accumulator.
Mm,
And the accumulator is someone who, just like the name says, likes to accumulate wealth. So the accumulator is really, really good at saving, really, really good at being disciplined, really, really good at creating financial security. And the flip side to an accumulator when not in balance can be that person um, can keep themselves small.
mm,
So it might be really hard for the accumulator to invest in themselves, in their personal well-being, their health,
mm.
their education,
Interesting.
or just even doing anything that would bring enjoyment. Going on a vacation and staying in a nice hotel can be really challenging for an accumulator. And we all know, right? It seems like that seems frivolous on one hand, and on the other hand, taking those breaks is so critical to our health and well-being. We all need that break.
We all need that break.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so is the flip side or the shadow, if you will, a difficulty investing in oneself only from like a treating yourself perspective, or is it also like investing in the stock market?
I think it can be both. Very
Okay.
risk averse.
Okay. Okay.
So I think that it applies to everything.
Because it's
Mhm.
interesting. So I just had a welcome party right now. I'm running a cohort called Become a Wealthy Lawyer for women
Mhm.
lawyers who want to get to the next level in wealth building.
Mhm.
And multiple people within the meeting said one of their goals was just to figure out what to do with their money
Yeah.
because they have a lot of money in cash,
Mhm.
in a bank account, not
Mhm.
not even in a money market account,
Mhm.
and they're just not sure what to do with it.
Mhm.
And something that I have noticed in working with lawyers in this space is law school does something interesting to our brain
Hmm.
where we tend to become more risk averse than we were when we started because we're trained to find the thing that can go wrong in any situation because that protects our client. But the shadow of that or the flip side of that is then we can limit ourselves in taking chances or things that feel unsafe. And so I'm curious, I wonder if some people before they go to law school or before they practice were maybe more of a different type, but they start to become more of an accumulator because of the reframe that law school and legal practice creates within our mind. This episode of Legal and Wealthy is brought to you by Law Firm Sites. Law Firm Sites has been building custom websites and providing online marketing for law firms for over 23 years. They are good at what they do because that's all that they do. If you are looking to expand the reach of your firm or just improve your online presence, Law Firm Sites has the team to do it. Go to lawfirmsites.com or call 1-800-932-8242 and mention Legal and Wealthy to receive 10% off any of their website or marketing packages.
Yeah, well, that's so interesting. And what comes to mind is expanding our range, right? So you might be an accumulator your whole life. That might be a natural pattern for you. And maybe your accumulator was a little more imbalanced before law school. And then you go to law school, and all of your attention and focus is on protection and what could go wrong. And so I think it's a matter now of expanding that again to expand your own range to say, this is appropriate in this circumstance. And yes, I want to be cautious and discerning, yet let me be open to learning about this new thing or this idea. It's so interesting that you bring that up because I'm working with an accumulator right now. And in our session yesterday, she was recognizing how, when an advisor comes to her with a proposal for an investment, automatically no, no, no. And she was recognizing how that might keep her from financial growth. So her new pattern is to have a framework to evaluate the opportunities. So it's not just an automatic no, there is a framework in place where she's at least going to step into that space and see what that feels like.
Interesting. So what does that framework look like for her?
Well, to be honest, we didn't develop that yet. That's going to be in another session. But and it might be different for everybody how they go about
Sure.
evaluating an investment and if it's appropriate and for that person.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think what's most important is recognizing that sometimes we may have a knee-jerk reaction to something, whether we're an accumulator archetype or not. And sometimes our brain will tell us something, and it doesn't mean that our thoughts are true.
Mm-hmm.
It's an opportunity to step back and say, okay, thank you, brain, for these thoughts. Maybe it is a no, but is it a no based on what? Is it a no just based on fear or lack? Or is it a no based on no, I analyzed everything. I walked it through with my professionals. I slept on it and now it's still a no,
Mm-hmm.
or is it a maybe or a yes? But I love that you brought that up because I think pausing and then having whatever that framework looks like
Mm-hmm.
is is huge.
It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. What do you like? Let's say that I'm that client. What would maybe be some suggestions to start building out a framework for
Mm-hmm.
making decisions?
Mm-hmm. Well, I would have that person. There's going to be some what people might call soft and more technical pieces, and I would address
Mm,
both of them in the framework. Right off the bat, I would say, is this in alignment with your financial values? Is it in alignment with your goals? How will it
mm,
support your goal?
mm,
And does the investment itself, you can look at the fees, you can look at just the terms. What does it look like? Is your money going to be locked up? Do you have control over your money? There's a lot of different technical things that each person would identify what matters to them. But maybe just looking at the product itself and how it works and making sure you understand that before you say yes to anything.
mm.
That's where I would start.
Yeah. And I think what's so important from what you just said is if you don't know your financial values and if you don't know your financial
Mhm.
goals, then it's going to be very difficult to make a decision that is appropriate and that supports those goals and
100%.
supports those
Yeah.
values.
And I think that the values is something that is often overlooked in a traditional planning situation.
Mm,
And those values and your goals are the compass. And it can really simplify any decision right off the bat. Like, is
mm,
this on the table or off the table? Boom. Okay, it's on the table.
yeah.
What next? And then you can kind of go down the road evaluating.
Yeah. I
Mhm.
love that. I love that. That's huge. Okay. What's the next archetype?
Okay, the next archetype is connector. And connector,
And you said you're
yeah,
a
that is my
connector, right? You
top
said?
archetype. And connectors are all about the connection. So, if money enters the conversation, it can feel like it's disingenuous or something like that, right? Like you're
Mm,
just in it for the
mhm.
money or something like that. So, for connectors, on the flip side, though, they can develop amazing relationships with clients, very fulfilling. Like that's um, my experience is that I work with amazing people and we have long-term relationships, and I love that. I go home happy. And it's so
Mm,
amazing to work with people for years and years and years and see their lives change and families grow and kids go to college. Like it's such a cool thing to be able to do that and to know someone so well that you really can support
yeah.
them in meaningful ways.
Mm,
Uh, Connectors are typically very unconcerned about money. They just have a faith and a trust that it will always be there.
mm.
And so they might be bored with a lot of the financial details. They might not want to get as technical as some other archetypes.
Hmm. So it's interesting as I think about the accumulator, no, I'm sorry, the connector archetype with respect to attorneys. I think that in the legal profession, it's a very noble profession, and it's that it is a profession. And I do think that there is something ingrained during law school and subsequent to law school that it's not a business. It's a profession, it's a noble profession, and there's just a lot that kind of comes with that that I think a lot of people don't realize unless you're an attorney, because I think a lot of people think, oh, attorneys make a lot of money, attorneys are money hungry or greedy, or whatever assumptions people make. But what I have noticed is actually the opposite. Attorneys sometimes find it difficult to charge, especially depending on the type of law that they're in, because they feel like they have, or we have, this skill set um that we often undercharge, especially as women. So if someone's listening and they're like, "Ooh, I think my primary archetype is a connector," what are some things that they can do to feel more confident in charging or talking about money, especially when it comes to interactions with clients or referral partners even?
Mhm. Well, I'll tell you about a personal experience. And so for a while, I was really interested in something called the gift economy. And that's where you go to a type of exchange that is based on something other than necessarily money itself, right? So you're gifting this service here, and somebody else is going to provide help for you, to cut your hair, help you build I don't know what, right? But you're exchanging talents. And
Mhm.
so I experimented with that with coaching. And I did coaching in the gift and said, look, you know what? I'm going to provide this. I would typically charge this. This is the market rate. And I'm going to allow you to exchange with me what value you got from this session.
Mm.
And I don't think that's good or bad, but I'm just talking about that as an experience because I think the impact it had was that it made people feel uncomfortable. Like people
Mm.
didn't know how much they should give, or they felt bad if they could only give X amount and they felt like it was worth another amount. So
Mm.
the reason I bring up this particular experience is because I think it feels cleaner and it feels more professional when you feel clear about your fee and you just state what that is. And people
Mm.
can say yes or no.
I like that. And it's interesting that you say that because within our firm, when we started, I came from big law. So I had really no experience discussing fees and talking about fees. I was usually just brought onto a matter and I would bill my time and, whatever. And the partner that I worked with primarily handled that aspect of it. So when I started a law firm, it was very new to me. And I don't think I'm primarily a connector, but it definitely was coming up where I was almost like giving discounts or almost like apologetically
Mhm,
telling clients or potential clients our
yeah,
fees. And something that we did that was very helpful was we have a fee sheet. And a lot of our
mhm,
estate planning is flat fee, not all of it, but a lot of it, like the basic documents can be flat fee. And so it's almost as if someone else had created that, not us. And we're like, oh, this is the fee sheet. These are our
mhm,
fees,
yeah,
even though we're the ones that came up with the fees. And
mhm,
almost as if that's just what it is, and
mhm,
that energy and just doing it that way really
mhm,
helped the way that we presented our fee structure to our clients, and we could tell the reaction to that was more positive from
mhm.
our potential clients. So
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. And, I think when we state our fees, and you can do this is something you can practice in front of the mirror, it should be as natural as if you were to say to someone at the table, "Pass the salt, please.
mm,
This project is X amount of dollars. According to our fee sheet, it's this." Like just and you used another word that I think is really important, but it's unapologetic. Like just own it.
yeah, just own it, and you'll
Mhm,
find your people, whether
mhm,
it's clients or referral partners. I know that's something that we talk a lot about at Legal and Wealthy. Like, how do you ask for a referral fee?
mhm, mhm,
A lot of attorneys don't, especially depending on, in personal injury, it's more common, but in other practice areas, it can feel very awkward to ask, "Do you pay a referral fee? If so, how much?"
mhm, mhm.
I love
Yep,
that.
I love the way
Practice
you
in the
just put it.
mirror,
Mhm,
practice with a friend.
mhm. Yep,
It's
exactly.
fantastic. That's fantastic. It's so interesting because with each of these archetypes, I'm I could see the lawyer
Mhm.
aspect of each of them. It's very interesting. Okay, which one's
Yeah,
next?
and I love that you're bringing that piece in. It's so I love talking about the archetypes from that perspective. It's really cool.
It is.
Okay, the next one I see here, and I can definitely see how this might apply to some attorneys, is the alchemist.
Mm,
And the alchemist is an idealist, and they want to create positive change in the world, period, no matter what. This is what they're very driven to do. And I think there's a love-hate relationship to money with an alchemist. And, you know, for example, I'm trying to think of a good example of that love-hate relationship, but I think it's just a resentment that you have to have money to make impact.
mm,
So an alchemist can be an idealist, maybe sometimes unrealistic, though they can be very good with money, but just have that sense of like resentment about it.
mm,
I think a lot of alchemists want to do good in the world and feel like if they go down that path, they're not going to make enough money.
mm.
So that is a little bit about the alchemist.
And I feel like there's almost an overlap a little bit between the connector and the alchemist that I could see that happens in the legal profession. Again, a lot of people go to law school because they're like, I want to make a difference. I want to change the world. I want to protect people's rights,
Mhm,
or whatever it is. And there's something that happens where you start law school and now maybe especially depending on your law school, maybe they really push you to a big law track. And all of the
mhm,
sudden someone who wanted to, save the dolphins or the children is all of a sudden in like an M&A role at a big firm in New York City. And they're like, "Whoa, how did I even
mhm,
this?" And maybe they like it, but it's just
mhm,
so different from what they thought they would be doing. And I
mhm,
think that happens all the time, right? Because
mhm.
you go to law school, you get pushed down a certain track, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, but I need to make money." I
Mhm.
wanted to be a public defender, but I can't live off of 40 grand a year, or
Right.
whatever it might
Yeah.
be.
Mhm.
So interesting. Okay, so the shadow, it sounds like for the alchemist is they want to make a difference and they're not necessarily bad with money, but they have some resentment towards the
Mhm.
necessity of it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Okay. So if someone's listening and they're like, "Ooh, I think that might be me." What is
Mhm.
something that they can do to reconcile their
Mhm.
ideals
Mhm.
with the money?
Right, that's a great question. I think it could go a lot of different ways, but I think the first thing to recognize is that, so I'll give you another personal example from my life. And if I'm going home after work and feel really exhausted for a period of time, let's say like week after week, month after month, I'm like, gosh, why am I so tired? I'm getting enough sleep. I think I'm eating enough protein. I'm trying to exercise, like doing all the things. So why do I still feel depleted? And then there's this aha that if I'm not in alignment with my connector, or in this case, if you're not alignment in that part of you that wants to make a positive impact, and you're trying to reconcile that, and it's challenging, then I start to feel depleted because I'm not in alignment with who I am naturally.
Mm,
So I say that because it really is so important to be honoring who you are naturally as the alchemist. And of course, we also know that it's really money's important. It funds our contentment, it funds our life. So the way that people choose to be in alignment with their heart and who they are is going to be very individual, because going back to developing abundance as a state of being, you may earn $40,000 a year and be so thrilled and aligned with what you're doing that that feels like more than enough. On the other hand, if you were doing something you hated and you earned $40,000 per year, it'd be torture.
mm,
So I think that there's a room for a lot of individual charting your path in this way, but some, you know, obvious things would be to, if you're in a job that's not the alchemist job, you ended up in that big law firm job, of course, donating your time, your money, or, and it depends on what kind of help. I work with someone who does not enjoy giving money to organizations, but they enjoy, if they meet someone in their community who could use a hand, they help them out a little bit, and that brings this person all sorts of satisfaction.
mm.
So I think it really depends on the individual, but I do think it's important to be aligned with your archetype so that you have the energy to do the things that bring you joy and happiness, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense, and I think, we were kind of talking about earlier how, June for you is you really want to see the beauty in the world, within the legal and wealthy community. June for us is very similar. We're calling it dreamy June.
Hmm.
Finding the beauty. It's really actually right on the same kind of line of thinking, finding the beauty around you, allowing yourself to dream again, or maybe
Hmm.
for the first time.
Yeah.
And I think a
Hmm.
big part of that is, how can you dream if you don't know who you are and how you be in this world? And so I
Hmm.
love that you said that, because if you do feel out of alignment, it might be because you don't know who you are. You lost sight of that somewhere, along the way. Um, especially when it comes to money. And something that I've heard come up a lot within my space, whether it's, clients through my law firm or legal and wealthy, is, well, I don't want to be greedy, or, I already have so much. And it's like, but the more that you build wealth and have access to wealth, the more that you can make a difference in the
Hmm.
world. You don't have
Hmm.
to be a monk in order to
Hmm.
make a difference. You
Hmm.
can donate money, your time, whatever it is that brings you joy and satisfaction, especially if you're the alchemist archetype
Hmm.
primarily.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
think it's important to adopt a mindset like what you're talking about, that you can make a difference, do what's in your heart, and live well financially.
Yeah, it's not or, it's and.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I
Hmm.
agree. Okay. Who do we have next?
Okay, we have the Maverick next.
Mm,
And the Maverick is super comfortable with risk. Maverick might see money as a game to win,
mm,
and they will always be growing whatever is there. You could have a tiny little one penny, and they're going to make that penny turn into $100. And the flip side, or the challenge with the Maverick, is that they may take too much risk. They may put all of their eggs in one basket and gamble and risk a lot of their financial future.
mm,
It can be a bit of an addiction too, actually,
mm.
being
Yeah.
a Maverick. It can be really hard. I've seen Mavericks when it comes to um, later stages in their career, like they want to slow down and they can't slow down. They want to take more time with their family, and there's kind of an addiction to be working.
Well, I think there's a lot of lawyers who are listening that are probably like, "Oops, that's me." That's a very common um concern and complaint that I hear, that it's really hard to get off the hamster wheel, whether it's a workaholic, tendency, or whether it's you're very tied to that billable hour, and so you feel like you
Mhm,
you can't get off the hamster wheel. Whatever iteration it might be. I think this one is one that I hear quite a bit. And I think that sometimes for those who are a little more risk averse, they don't want to be a maverick. And so
mhm,
they don't take action because they think it's going to lead them down the road of the maverick. Um, and I think that's why, boring investments can be sexy, because I think people just think investing as a whole is a maverick type endeavor
mhm,
potentially, where it's more
mhm,
so, are you taking a large chunk of your wealth and, putting it into startups or putting it into crypto, and maybe you'll
mhm,
have a huge upside, but the potential downside without buffers of other sorts of safer investments can be tough. So if someone's listening and they're like, "Oh, I might be a maverick or my spouse is a maverick." What is something that this archetype can do to protect themselves from losing it all?
mhm. That's again, a great question. And sometimes, so when we look at the archetypes, we don't just look at one archetype, we look at the top 3 archetypes. And if someone is fortunate enough, they're going to have one of their own archetypes that balances it, like a maverick with an accumulator, for example. Oh my gosh, completely different. And it can be a beautiful thing where the maverick can have these creative ideas and growth mindset, and the accumulator can say, well, let's think this through. Let's check all the boxes.
Yeah.
And that can be really helpful. And if you don't have a balancing archetype naturally, then as you mentioned, that's you can ask an advisor, a spouse, a friend, or someone who you trust to talk about your finances with.
Mm.
And you can say, look, I've got this pattern, and please help me keep this in balance.
Yeah.
And it could be that, like, when I'm thinking, if I were working with the client, I might say, great, um, here is your, well, we call it the nut, right? Like, here's how much you need in order to fund your lifestyle for your lifetime. This gives you extra, and you can be a maverick with the extra. You can gamble with this much. So you, in a way, you have a budget for being a maverick,
Mhm.
so
Yeah,
that you can have both. You can have your financial security, and your family can have their financial security, and you also get to do your maverick thing at the
I
same
think
time.
that's great advice. Really great advice. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people are gonna take that home with them, because it can be fun to be a maverick,
Yes.
but no one
Yes.
wants to tell their business partner or spouse or whoever that, something didn't pan out. And I was listening to a different podcast recently, and there was a guest who was saying he lost everything 3 times, and he's like, if I
Mhm.
could go back and do it again, I wouldn't have
Mhm.
put so much into those. I would have
Mhm.
kept a lot of it boring, and then at the
Mhm.
that same advice you just gave, whatever 10% or
Mhm.
5% or, whatever it might be, it's going to
Mhm.
be different for
Right.
everybody. That's the
Mhm.
money that you play with,
Right.
you know?
Exactly. I
Okay,
have to
who's
say all
next?
these things are easier said than done, right? Like we can come up with this
Yeah.
great solution and I know it can truly be challenging. That's where the rubber meets the road. For every single
Mhm.
person, we all have our challenge in life that we work with. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I
yeah.
think that goes to because a lot of people ask me, okay, when do I know that I or when should I maybe engage a financial advisor, a financial professional?
Mhm.
That would be a perfect example of
Mhm.
if you need um guardrails,
Mhm.
right? And you need
Yeah.
someone to hold you accountable.
Mhm.
It's a great,
Yep.
I mean, so many reasons you
Mhm.
would want to work with a
Mhm.
financial
Yep.
advisor, but that's a great example of one
Mhm.
that, makes
Yes.
sense.
Mhm. Okay, you ready for the next one?
Yeah, let's do it. Hey, let's be honest. Are you a high functioning attorney or law student, but kind of low key exhausted, maybe successful on paper, but secretly wondering, is this it? That's exactly why I created the Wealthy Lawyer Reset. It is a 6-day reset for lawyers and law students who are done with burnout, chaos, money, energy, and just running on fumes. For 6 days, we reset your mindset, your money, and your nervous system because we cannot build true wealth and have great health if we are living in survival mode. It's just the fact of the matter. And because I am that kind of girl, we end with a virtual yoga session with the Aman Costigan. So you're not just wealthy on paper, you're regulated, grounded, and actually enjoying your life. This is not about hustling harder, it's about recalibrating everything so your wealth and your health can feel calm, aligned, and sustainable. If you're ready to enter your wealthy lawyer era without burnout, join me inside the Wealthy Lawyer Reset. 6 days, one reset, a completely different relationship with money, your health, and your success. Check out the show notes or go to my Instagram to learn more about the Wealthy Lawyer Reset.
Okay, the next one is celebrity. And celebrities are not uncomfortable being in the spotlight, obviously, just like the name would suggest. And celebrities can have a very positive influence and impact. Like I think of a lot of influencers may have the celebrity archetype.
Mm,
And um, sometimes celebrities are known for the word bling isn't right, but image matters, right?
mm,
You know, for an accumulator, they might be able to afford a BMW, but they would never buy one. But a celebrity who can afford a BMW, or maybe even not afford a BMW, that is the challenge with a celebrity, will get that car because they love it and image matters to them.
mm.
And so that is the light side and the shadow side. Celebrities can have tremendous positive impact and influence. And when it comes to money, they can, you know, spend too much because they're wanting to have a certain image that they project.
Yeah. And I think that that archetype is probably one of the biggest reasons that so few lawyers are millionaires because maybe even if you didn't grow up with that archetype being, one of your top three, watching your fellow colleagues, buy the bigger house and buy the bigger car,
Mhm.
having that lifestyle inflation creep in,
Mhm.
can really, really set you back when it comes to building wealth. So, what
Mhm.
is something that the celebrity archetype can do to still feel like they are able to maintain that image, but also make sure that they are building wealth?
Mhm. Well, I think of it this way. Everything I've said and another perspective I'll throw in there is I think of like if you were to walk into a beautiful field with all sorts of gorgeous flowers and you wanted to make a flower bouquet. So you wouldn't be able to pick every single flower because it wouldn't even fit in the vase and it would just look chaotic. So what you would do though is just like, these are all gorgeous. I love every single one of them. And you know what? I'm going to have really fun playing with a monochromatic scheme, or I'm going to do like, like all my color theory is trying to come back right now, like, opposing colors on the color wheel, like blue and orange, or I'm going to just do something soothing, or I'm going to do something that pops. I'm going to do something summery. So you decide, you kind of choose what's going to be beautiful, and then
Mm.
you just enjoy that. You enjoy the heck out of it, right? Like you get the BMW, but you maybe don't spend as much on shoes or something like that. I know that's like a different comparison, a car and shoes, but
Yeah,
you get
no,
my
I think that
point.
makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
what do you really care about?
Yes.
What will give you, what will bring you the greatest amount of joy and satisfaction,
Hmm.
and pick that thing rather than
Right.
picking all the things, and
Right.
then
Yes.
maybe having investments that will then pay for the shoes next year
Right. Right. Exactly. And
or
again,
next
and just
quarter.
enjoying the heck out of it, right? Instead of having I hear it called like FOMO, fear of missing out, like, oh, I made the wrong choice. I really want this. You just have to
Mm,
love what you have.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Another great reframe. I love it. Okay, who do we have next?
All right. Next, we have the nurturer. Nurturers, again, just like the name sounds, love to help people. They get a sense of satisfaction when they can help someone out, give someone a loan, um, you know, pay for something for someone, send their kid to college or whatever it is. They just, even treating people in their life that they love. Like, let's go out to a nice dinner. You want to go to France? Let's go to France. Let's do it. Right. A
Mm,
nurturer just loves to do that. And again, they get a sense of like satisfaction and self-worth from being able to help. Nurturers are typically good with money, though where they can fall into a challenge is if they overgive.
mm.
So then they might feel resentful, or they might even overgive so much that they harm themselves financially, and meaning they take them off of their own financial goals because they're giving so much
Oh,
to
interesting.
someone else.
Okay.
Yeah. So givers,
Okay.
right? Like givers, 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 and not as much taking care
Mm.
of themselves.
Okay, so I'll take a stab at this one and guess that if someone is this archetype, it could be important to maybe establish a boundary of, okay,
Hmm.
I love to give, but what are my goals? And I
Hmm.
will give as long as I know I've achieved my goals, or as long
Hmm.
as I know it's not, bringing in resentment. Is there anything else that you would tell someone who's a nurturer to stay in alignment with themselves?
Hmm. Um, yeah, I would say I think of like that did anyone on this podcast ever play Trivial Pursuit? And you've got this, like you play the game and there's like this little circle, it's like a pie. And as you get a category right, you put a piece in the
Mhm.
circle. And so you're filling up your pie. And so for a nurturer, to make sure that they're one of those pieces of the pie is super important.
Mm, I love that.
And I think that that commands more respect from people in your life too, who
Mm,
might get really comfortable taking from you.
mm.
So I
Yeah,
think
that makes
viewing it as
sense.
a way of just respecting your own self, your own piece of the pie too.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
That makes a lot of sense. Make sure you're in that pie,
Hmm.
and then you can give and you can nurture and you can take, your
Hmm.
bestie to France or whatever it might
Yeah,
be. That's great.
exactly. Hmm.
And then I think, are we on the last one? Is this the very last one here?
Yes, we're on the very last one. And the very last one is the romantic.
I like this one for the last one.
Yes, it's a good one to, and I love these cards that I have. It's called your inner hedonist, but the romantic
Mm,
loves beautiful things, right? So, um, I guess A romantic, I always laugh because romantic is one of my archetypes too, and I actually lost it. So you could buy a pen. A romantic could buy a pen, right? Just go to the store and get a Bic or whatever. But a romantic wants to get a gorgeous fountain pen because they just
Mm,
feel good using that. And it doesn't have to have anything to do with how much you're spending or how expensive something is, but there's a sensuality that goes with romantic, right? Like I really enjoy going to this park because these flowers are gorgeous or whatever it is. So I would view romantic as somebody who is motivated by the experience of whatever they're doing, whether it's food, clothing, car, walking down the street, you know, hotel, anything. So romantics are very driven by that experience of whatever feels good to them.
mm,
And again, on the flip side for a romantic, um, there is more of an innocence when it comes to money, and they may not be tracking money as much as like an accumulator or a Maverick or something like that.
mm. So interesting. All of these are
Yeah.
just, it's so interesting that, we don't often think about all of this, these personality traits, these money archetypes when making financial decisions and moving through our life. But it sounds to me like once you kind of know which one you are, which top three you are, you're going to have so much more clarity on your decisions in life, but especially your financial decisions.
Mhm. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because each one I'm like, "Oh, this is the part that law school kind of has, shifted in our minds or, being an attorney has shifted in our minds." So, this was so great. I mean, I loved doing the quiz with you and kind of walking through my own. I think I was a combination of ruler, alchemist, and I forget what my third one was. It was the one that
I
I was the least of, I believe.
I wrote down ruler, Maverick, and accumulator,
Oh, okay.
which is
Okay.
a great combination, and you're doing exactly what you should be doing. So,
Mm.
and remember how we were talking about having the balance? Like I love that you have Maverick and accumulator, and
Mhm.
you have the ruler, so you're building things, you're doing things differently, you're creating an impact in the field of law. So,
Mm. Wow.
beautiful.
I love it. It's so beautiful. Melissa, if someone is interested in learning about their own archetypes and connecting with you, what is the best place for them to find you and to figure out what money archetype they are?
Yeah, they can reach out to me by either calling our office, which is 303-444-1919, or send me an email at melissa@twcinc.org. So that's twcinc.org, short for the Wealth Conservancy. And you could visit wayintowealth.com. That is my coaching program where I've integrated the archetypes into that Way into Wealth coaching program, which
That's
is just a standalone
fantastic.
program. It's not financial planning. It's just a standalone 8 session one-on-one wealth coaching program.
That's amazing. We'll put all of that in the show notes. And I would even encourage, because I'm fascinated in this for myself, and of course with respect to legal and wealthy, but also as I approach my own clients in the trusts and estates and tax world, I think it will make me a much better advisor, professional, and leader for my own clients to understand how they see money and they see wealth.
Mhm.
So this has been
Yes.
incredible. So
Yeah.
incredible. I encourage everyone connect with Melissa, look into the program. I thank you so much for your time today. This was truly so eye-opening. And I'm sure everyone is going to love kind of figuring out, which
Mhm.
archetype they are and what they can do to get more in
Mhm.
alignment to build
Yeah.
true wealth and satisfaction, right? Because it's not just about building wealth for money's sake, it's for enjoyment of life and alignment. So thank
Right.
you, thank you, thank you.
And feeling wealthy, right? No matter what. And this has been super fun. Thank you so much. Like I loved discussing these archetypes with the lens of attorneys. And that
Yes,
was a
so fun.
really, really cool way to apply that. So thank you so much.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everyone for listening. And stay tuned for the next episode of Legal and Wealthy.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Legal and Wealthy. If today's episode sparked something in you, take it one step further. Share it, leave a review, or come connect with me inside the Legal and Wealthy community. Remember, wealth isn't just about the numbers. It's about how you lead, how you live, and how you build beyond the billable. You already have what it takes to create real freedom and wealth. I'm just here to help you claim it.